it'd just be great to watch.
Absolutely. Oh, I think it'd be good. I'd certainly go and see it if I got half a chance. And I thought to round off, we could look at, with it being Halloween and the whole back from the grave kind of context, there's really a celebration of the dead. Some of the more bizarre stories from the world of rock and roll. And start with the Doors and Ray Manzarek. He has this dream that Jim Morrison returns from France, having been there to sort of find himself and pull himself together. And Ray Manzarek asks him what he's been doing and if he's been working on any more new material. And just before he answers, Manzarek wakes up. Now, what is really spooky is Robbie Krieger. He claims to have exactly the same dream.
Yeah, so they're having a Wayne's World moment.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's spooky country. But more spooky, Morrison. In 2009, a photo emerged of his ghost lingering over his grave in Paris. And apparently the photograph has been tested and has been shown not to be fake.
Oh.
So I think that's... there's so many great stories. I mean, Cass Elliot from the Mamas and the Papas, Mama Cass, she's reputed to haunt Dan Aykroyd's Hollywood home because she previously owned it. Now, Beverly D'Angelo, and it's the lady that was in National Lampoon films, she bought the house from Dan Aykroyd, and she claims to have seen Cass Elliot's ghost as well.
Yeah, well, he was a Ghostbuster, Mr. Dan Aykroyd, so maybe he put her there.
That's very true. He didn't manage to get rid of her by all of accounts. And even Jimi Hendrix crops up. He's been, or the sound of Jimi Hendrix has been heard to sort of waft across Yale's Woolsey Hall. And he played there on the 17th of November 68, so the acoustics must be pretty good.
So since you brought up Jimi Hendrix, in the late 90s, I lived in Seattle, and the apartments that I stayed at, Jimi Hendrix's grave was about 300 yards from my bedroom, and you'd go out there and you'd see people just hanging out all the time, partying up. It's Seattle, so they have a little party in them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the small little memories I have of living out there. It was like right there I could just walk right to his gravesite.
Well, Buddy Holly, the residents of Clearwater, that's where Buddy Holly's plane crashed. They claim to see a phantom plane in the sky and ghostly lights flare up. Ooh. So he's obviously popping up again. And Graham Parsons, one of the real founding fathers of country rock. He only did one album with the Byrds, Sweetheart and the Rodeo, before he went off and formed Flying Burrito Brothers.
That's a great name too.
Oh, it is. I mean, they were a great album. A great band. I really like Graham Parsons. And it's strange, really. He died at the Joshua Tree Inn in the Joshua Tree National Park, and a strange story associated with his death. He said that he wanted to be buried, a sort of Viking funeral, but in the middle of the park. So his roadie, I can't remember his name offhand, he went and stole the body and took it to the national park. And he actually he set fire to the body in the coffin, and apparently, which is exactly what Graham Parsons wanted. But the police took a dim view of this. But apparently, they couldn't do him for setting fire to the deceased body, but they could do him for setting fire to the coffin because that was damage to property.
So he got busted for burning the coffin, but not for burning the body.
Apparently, that's a popular story. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And also, he's said to haunt his hometown of Waycross. And of course, you've got to finish up with Elvis Presley. I mean, he's been seen in Graceland, he's been seen in RCA Studios in Memphis, and of course, there have been well-documented sightings of him on the moon.
Hey, there's been people who have seen him in Kalamazoo, Michigan, not far from me. So he's all over, man. Now that he's retired and out of it all, he can go and hang out. Maybe he's driving a Winnebago or maybe a little Volkswagen Rabbit or something. Who knows?
It would be great to think that was true, wouldn't it?
Yep.
That would be brilliant. So, I mean, no tours there, though?
No tours there. Well, of course not, because if you want to see Elvis, you just go to Las Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sure they got impersonators out there. Hey, I know they even have impersonators that'll marry people.
I know.
In an Elvis outfit.
I actually met somebody, funny enough, last week. I went away on holiday for a week, and I got chatting to somebody, and I said, "Oh, I always quite fancy getting married in Las Vegas." And he said, "Oh, we did," and they were married by an Elvis impersonator. Absolutely incredible.
Well, if you're going to go into marriage, you either take it really seriously or you make it a big joke, right?
Yeah, exactly. Life's too short.
I was going to say, do you want to tell people about your book and your social media?
Yeah, that would be great. And the other thing is I've got a really big book signing coming up this weekend. It's at a 2-day jukebox fair in Chessington in Surrey, and it looks like great 2 days, the organisers. I mean, as well as jukeboxes, lots of singles. There's retro clothing, there's jiving, there's a jive competition, there's live music, and that should be an awful lot of fun. And yeah, if I could just say that the book Rock and Roll Unraveled tells the story of rock and roll from its blues roots, Robert Johnson and the like, through to mid-punk in the mid-70s punk era. And it also, not just the music, it looks at the influences like the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement, and that's available on Amazon. And the website's well worth checking out. It's www.rockandrollunraveled. That's with 2 L's, the UK spelling of that. And Facebook and Twitter I'm also quite busy on. Facebook's at Rock and Roll Unraveled, and Twitter's at RNR Unraveled. So they're all very similar. If you remember Rock and Roll Unraveled, the website actually picks it up with 1 or 2 L's, so not too much problem there.
These book signings you're going to be posting like you do every day on Facebook, because you're really good about posting some of the rock and roll history on that day on your Facebook, and you tweet a lot as well. So are we going to see pictures from this book signing?
Oh, absolutely. What I'll be doing is I did quite an interesting one about a couple of months ago, which was at a big quiz festival in the UK. And some of the biggest professional quizzes from TV shows like The Chaser and other TV shows, they were there. And three of these professional quizzes on the TV, Eggheads, that was the name I was just trying to think of. 3 of the Eggheads, one of which has been the world quizzing champion for 7 years running. 3 of them bought the book, so I was quite pleased about that. So I'll be posting some of those over the next few days, but certainly there'll be a lot of photographs following the weekend, because that's going to be such a fun weekend.
Yeah, your book's awesome. Every once in a while when I've got some time, I'll just pop it open and just read through a few things just to get my knowledge more up to date, because when we talk, you have so many more stories and I'm way behind you and I'm trying to catch up on a lickety-split, and you know so much that it's tough. You spent a lot of time putting this book together.
That's right. I mean, it was a good 7 years, probably more. And what's nice about it, as you just said, you can sort of pick it up and put it down. It's not a start it's 700 pages, but it's not a start the beginning, read till the end. The centre of the book is it happened on this day. So it looks at all the main things that happened between the January the 1st and December the 31st across the years. And in fact, Record Collector magazine, the British equivalent to Goldmine, it said that Shelmerdine has documented just about everything that's worth knowing in rock and roll. So I was well pleased with that.
Your book's like a timeline, but it's so much more in depth because it breaks it up into like 3 different sections, so you can follow the timeline 3 different ways.
That's right. I mean, that was one of the reasons I did. Quite right. I mean, the first part is actually called Timeline, where it takes every one of those events on the 1st of January through 31st December, and then it puts them into a chronological order, and it gives real context to what was going on. And what's fascinating, I find now, is that you can see careers ebbing and flowing. You could see how rock and roll, the original 1950s rock and roll, effectively died away as Little Richard found God while he was on tour in Australia, renounced rock and roll. Jerry Lee Lewis came to the UK on tour, discovered that the young lady with him was his wife, who was the 13-year-old daughter of his cousin. His career nosedived on both sides of the Atlantic after that. Elvis was called up and went into the army, and of course Buddy Holly was killed in a car crash, in a plane crash.
Celebrity, drop it like a deuce. If you want to win a prize, drop it like a deuce. Are you sure this is a good idea? If you want to have a good time, drop it like a deuce.
I have a bad feeling about this.
No need to sterilize.
Drop it like a deuce.
Oh no.
Drop it like a deuce. Drop it like a deuce. Drop it like a deuce.
Gibson or Fender?
Fender.
Brian Johnson or Bon Scott?
Brian Johnson.
Deep Purple or Rainbow?
Deep Purple.
Eric Clapton or Cream?
Cream.
What was your first album?
First album was the Stones' first album.
The very first album?
Very first album, yeah, with the actual extended version of the track. Sadly, I sold it.
You got rid of it.
Sorry?
You got rid of it.
Yeah, I know. It was in the days before you realised that, because I'm talking about buying records in the late 50s, early 60s, and there was no collector's market then. It was all just the new stuff that was coming out. And I got to a point where I got about 30 singles and 2 or 3 albums. It'd be about 1963, maybe 4. And I decided that I needed some money, so I just decided to sell them to a local second-hand record shop. I mean, all of those singles and albums. That would probably pay for my retirement.
All right, Derek, thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
My pleasure. I'm really looking forward to it.
And that was Derek Shelmerdine, rock and roll historian and author of the book, Rock and Roll Unraveled. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, as we tear through another 60 minutes of the John LeBang Show. I'd like to thank all of our affiliate stations across the fruited plains. Of course, thank our guest, Derek Shelmerdine. You can look him up on the web at Rock and Roll Unraveled. Don't forget to go to our website. That's www.jlebang.com. You can see archives of the show in video form right there on the main page. You can go check out all our interviews. You can also maybe go deep into our music show and see who we've played in our past episodes. With that being said, folks, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for being a major part of why the John LeBang Show has had tremendous success here in 2017. Bigger and better things are headed for us in 2018, including a massive research team that we are now building with people from all over the place. And we're going to be hitting it hard in 2018 with some investigative reporting. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John LeBang signing off from the Banger Studios.
3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance